So, my friend, I want to ask you, have you been listening to some of my podcasts for a while and identified for yourself all the areas that you feel your business could be better in? Maybe you just are so busy you haven't yet mastered the working as much as you like bit. Or maybe you're just not bringing in the money, like you're struggling with the income, or it's just not enough. Well, it's time for us to have a conversation. In the show notes, there is a link to my Evolution call. If you're a dance boss and you are ready to take action, let's have a chat and let's see where I can take you. Hello and welcome, lovelies, to the Ultimate Dance Business Podcast. My name is Deborah Laws, the dance business expert. My passion is to help you turn your passion into profit while guiding you to work less and earn more. I'm super excited to share interviews with you that I know will inspire and motivate you in your schools, as well as my solo shows where I shall be sharing some great tips and strategies. So if you love the show, please do remember to review, subscribe, and share it with your fellow dance boss friends. So let's get stuck into the business of dance. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Ultimate Dance Business Podcast. We are very lucky because we have not just had this lady once or twice, but actually this is our third podcast with the beautiful, wonderful Rosina Andrews. And Rosina, you are now the first person to be on my podcast 3 times. Did you know that?
That's an honor, Deborah, and like no pressure to keep momentum going. No. Yeah, fabulous.
I mean, it's kind of organically happened, well, didn't it, Rosina? Because we were just saying that, really, if I was strategically doing this, we'd have created this as like a little mini series. But what actually happened, everybody, was Rosina and I had such a great chat on our first podcast that we kind of said like, oh, I don't think we're done. There's so much more to talk about. And hence we are here for the third time.
I think it's this, depending if you're counting the first one, this is the 4th time, isn't it really?
I guess it must be. Yes, I forgot we did the first.
I don't know. These are like the mini ones, aren't they? So I guess 3 minis, 1 big.
Wow.
Yeah, but either way.
That's a record somebody else has got to try and beat now.
It's funny though, isn't it? Because I'm sure, as you also say, Deborah, like leave people wanting more. Here we are.
Exactly. Yeah. So we have talked most recently about a lot of talk about competitions. We talked about how to start up in competitions if you don't do competitions, and the kind of the pros and cons and pitfalls and the, challenges. And then we talked on the last podcast actually about how you kind of manage your competitions, your team, your parents. And so today really is kind of going full circle in terms of what happens if you've been doing competitions. Maybe you've done a couple and you've just decided that, I'm not sure I should have started this. I'm not sure it's right for me. Or maybe you've been doing them for years and years and years, and you now want to take your stall in a slightly different direction, which doesn't include competitions anymore. Like, this is so hard, don't you think, Rosina? Any time in business when you've delivered something and then you want to pull it away again. Like, it's so much easier to put something in than it is to take it out.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It is so tricky as well, isn't it? Because it's like, it becomes, I don't want to say our businesses become algorithms, but like, we know at this time of year we do this, and that time of year we do that. And then by pulling that back, not only are you changing sort of your ethos as your studio, but you're also just generally changing stuff. And we all know that humans don't really love change and things like that. So I think, it's a really interesting topic. And I think it's one that a lot of people think about, but not many follow through. So just going to put this out there. I don't want this to be the downfall of all competitions. This is just a little like, could you imagine all the comps finish after this? I think it's definitely a really interesting one to discuss. And I think something as a podcast, because like as a mentor, as a podcast, things like that, it's sort of just planting ideas in other people's heads that maybe they're already thinking. So yeah, absolutely. It's a tricky one. but
Yeah,
a
a good one to discuss. And I think, I don't know whether anybody relates to this that's listening right now, but I think that there are a lot of people that continue to do things in their school for a really long time, even after they have come to the realization that maybe this thing that we do just isn't for me, or maybe this thing that we do isn't where I want the school to be anymore, or which direction I wanted to go in. But I guess the word fear comes up, like people are scared of, but
Yes.
if I change this now, am I going to get a lot of unhappy people? Could that potentially lead to people leaving because of this decision? And so they carry on and
Yeah.
on and on and on for years doing something they don't love.
Absolutely. That was one of my first kind of, I made some notes for this one because I'm not talking from like maybe I'm not talking from experience as in I've not pulled away from doing competitions, but definitely I do have those feelings every now and again that go, is this really what we need to be doing? And like it sometimes is not necessarily the whole team or even the whole studio, but perhaps older students that have different goals now, or like, if, you know, you've done group dances for ages and you're like, actually, these just don't work, so I can't get rehearsals scheduled in. I have had those thoughts. I personally always then kind of look back and go, what would I've been doing this now for 15 years as a like a choreographer of a team. What do the 6-year-olds who are doing this for the first time feel? And I do like sometimes to think, okay, it's just me being a bit stagnant. But I do think it's that whole fear of if you change or alternate your philosophy of your studio, that you're going to lose clients. And that's not the goal ever, is it? We don't want to be losing people. We want to be keeping people, retaining people. And I think it's that whole like, what if I change and like align with my ethos? How many students will go? And I think we have to perhaps settle with the fact that, yes, if you do decide to pull back from doing the thing that you've always done, this could be different. This could be like saying, okay, we no longer do shows. I wouldn't recommend that to anyone because I think they're a valid form of PR and promotion and marketing. But if you didn't want to do shows, you could use the same sort of situation here. But it's that you will lose students, but you will also gain others. And I think that's where we have to get our mindset. If you're thinking, comps aren't for me, comps are not for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is such a massive point that you've just said, because I think the fear of I'm going to keep doing the thing I hate just because I might lose a few students, or a few students. For some people, it might be a bunch of students. But I think we have to look at the bigger picture. Like we have to look long term. What does, you know, Miss Sarah love about her school in 5 years' time? You know, we will get over the fact that you lost 2 or 20 students. In 5 years' time, you'll still be here, but you'll have a school that you really love.
Yes.
And I think that it is the kind of coming to terms with the fact that if you're going to make a big change, you might lose a few students. But I think you just made a really, really good point. You might also gain some students because there are people out there that may be put off or turned off by the fact that you do competitions, not because there's anything wrong with competitions, but because it's just not for them. They're not looking for a competition school. And they haven't come to you. They haven't come to Miss Sarah's dance school because it's a competition team and that's not competition school and that's not really what I'm looking for. And now all of a sudden you become attractive to them. Yeah. So that's an interesting thought, isn't it?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think this is really interesting because it's like, as dance teachers, we see, let's say social media, say you get 100 posts on social media, probably 80% of them are about dance competitions or studios of the kids have won something or blah, 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 blah. 20% of them are not about that. But actually, a lot of the studios that are not doing competitions do still exist and are massively there. They're just not posting it. And I do find that the social media side of kind of like, not like marketing side of it, but the like promotion of competitions and kids winning things is definitely aimed towards the studios that do that. And then the others, perhaps you're not following because they've not got such a big footprint on the world and things like that. So I think those studios do really exist. And I've been to a few that I have done workshops at, and they're wonderful places. They've got great energies, and I'm just like, I can so see what you're aiming for. And it is that it's acquired taste, isn't it? And it's like, you have to think of it like, if you go to Starbucks because you like their pumpkin spice latte and they suddenly say, we're not doing it anymore, but Cafe Nero is, you will move to Cafe Nero to get that pumpkin spice latte if you really love it that much. But then at the same time, you might go, oh, I'll try something new. So I think, yeah, it's more in our faces, this competition world, whereas I actually think I don't think everyone is as competition orientated as it appears.
Yeah, and I actually think, that in all honesty, that the algorithms play a big part in this.
Absolutely.
Because if you're looking at and stopping and pausing when you're scrolling, or clicking on someone's post because somebody's won something and it's about Dance World Cup, or it's about this or about that, you're going to get shown more and more and more of that stuff. And so your feed is going to be full of all the dance schools that do competitions that are posting about competitions. So in your head, you're now thinking, everybody does it, therefore I have to keep doing this thing. But if you're a dance school that doesn't have anything to do with the competition world, you will be seeing all the posts from other dance schools that also don't have competition in their life. And so you probably will be not even really aware of competitions. You never see anything like that come up. So that's quite, I think that's quite a big realization for people. You know, you can't base what you think you should or shouldn't be doing on social media from what you see, because that's just what's being shown to you.
I think that's relevant as well when you've got, say you are saying we're not going to do competitions anymore, and a parent goes, oh, but I really want to. Their algorithm is in that same kind of journey. So they're also only being bombarded with kids that do this, and this. Like, I'm in North London and I see loads of kids that are in like all the shows because we're in a great license borough that can get like 60 miles from London, and we're inside the M25. So therefore it's like, oh my God, should the dance schools I work at all be doing Matilda? It's only because I'm seeing that.
Yeah, and yet me being down in Devon when I ran my schools, I never saw a picture of a child getting into a show ever.
Well, yeah, because it's like never going to happen because it's too far away. So yeah, I think that's really good to. I think also, because I don't like to say that dance school owners and business owners are sometimes of the older generation. They don't always understand that there's such thing as an algorithm and this thing is being blasted in your face. So that wasn't meant to patronize anyone, but I know if I said to my mum the algorithm, she'd be like, what are you talking about? Whereas if I said to a younger dance teacher who's like 25, they'd be like, oh yeah, absolutely, I know the algorithm, blah, blah, blah. I was like, good, well, I'm glad you do, because it changes every flipping week. It's so hard to keep up with, but that's a whole nother podcast.
But that's so there's a little starting point for everybody, just to get your head around the fact that just because you're seeing it everywhere doesn't mean that it is everywhere. So that's one little thing. But I know you've got some other points written down. So do you want to discuss something else?
I do have some points written down, because when you said to me about this, I was like, this is such a valid thing, and it's such an important thing for like dance studios to realize there is more to life than just competitions, and there's a lot of other things that we can do as studios. At the end of the day, we always talk about the fact we're building a community. It's not necessarily the actual product, it's the community that we're building, that the students stay for, the parents love, the graduates come back and say, oh my God, remember this? Like, highly likely they don't turn around and go, oh, I remember when I won gold at this competition. They go, oh my God, do you remember when we all painted the changing rooms together and like someone got paint on the curtains and Miss Myra went crazy? Like those are the things they remember, which is the community spirit of it. And one of the things I wrote down was just if I say we, my students will be listening to this and they'll be like, oh, Rosina, is there something you want to tell us? If you are thinking about dropping competitions, what you might find, especially if you've got some talented kids who want to continue them and you haven't educated them as to why you're not continuing them, I think is a lot of importance on the how and the why and what you're doing. I think you have to communicate it. You can't just cut the cord. I wouldn't recommend keeping dancers in your studio and parents in your studio that then want to do competitions independently. That is a thing. I mean, so many kids do comps independently. I get that. But if you're going to have a bit of a mishmash of both, I think you're going to find some clashes. And I think you have to be really strong on your contract and your rules with that in mind. Like if they want to do them independently, cool, but don't then attempt to come into my studio, because what you're going to find is you're going to have a lot of hearsay. You're going to have a lot of this happened, that happened. And that just is creating you more drama, even though you're trying to step away from the drama. So one of my notes was I wouldn't try and find a hybrid. I would say you've either got to go, we're going to keep having this. Like, for example, the school that I work at, we have an elite team and we have a recreational side. The recreational side are very happy that they don't do the comps. The competition team are very happy that sometimes they say, you know what, I'm just going to step back and be recreational. Luckily, we have the two running together, but it's been a long journey to get that working. If you are one or the other, I would say stick to being one or the other and don't sort of allow that independent, because you're just going to breed a dance mum. You're breeding crazy. That's my thought on that.
Yeah. And also, I think it doesn't allow you to fully step away because you're invested in your students. And if you have a student that's still doing competitions, you know, via another school or via or however they're doing it, you know, you're invested in that student. And she is still going to want to, they are still going to want to share what happened at the weekend and the drama that happened, you know, at so-and-so and who won this and who won this, because they also know that you've been in this world.
So you know.
And therefore you're still in it. You might not be going to competitions and entering your own students, but you're still being drawn into that. And so I really understand what you're saying there about, you know, basically you're either in or you're out.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. And also I think even if so there might be that concept of like you as a principal might not want to be in the comp any longer, but the younger teachers that you have might be very up for it. And like maybe it's you as a principal step back and you're like, you oversee it and your younger team take the comps if you do want to find a balance. But yeah, I think they are going to bring you into it. And also then it comes that whole like slight jealousy thing. Like if you are not doing comps, but then the kid do they use their old solo? Are they allowed the costume? Did you make it up? Do you want to be tagged? Like there's just too much. Like either or, I would say either or. Yeah.
That kind of does actually bring up two versions of this. The first version being we as a school are no longer doing competitions, which is what we were talking about originally. But you mentioned something then. And I think that's also another thing for us to talk about, because I do have a lot of my clients doing this. And that is that the principal doesn't want to still be involved in it, but doesn't have an issue for the school. It's not that they have fallen out of love with competitions. What they have probably fallen out of love with is giving up their weekends and being away for hours when they could be at home with their own children. And at that level of commitment that they don't perhaps want anymore. And I think when we first build our schools and introduce competitions, whether it's from day one or after a couple of years, you know, we might be at a time in our lives then when we don't have a problem. Maybe we're still single. Maybe we don't have a family, you know, and we love the whole competition circuit. So going away for the weekend becomes your social life.
Yes.
And I think
which it can be, absolutely can be. And there's a lot of studios that go, oh, I love meeting up with the other teachers. Absolutely. And that used to be me. Yeah. But now I see it kind of from another side. And this could be why I'm already like beginning to think, oh, maybe do I want to pull back from this? Like, for example, in a couple of weeks' time, there's a competition, which I would usually be at. I'm quite heavily pregnant right now. And Zura has her little dance show. And I'm like, so where am I in this? And obviously I want to be at the dance show. And there is nothing in my head that says, and none of me wants to go to the competition. But I do still like, I love them. And I think they really like build their confidence. But I've luckily got a team that say, you know what, I can go, who are happily to be paid because they're young, self-employed people who want to, like, I swear to God, they're all like investing in, like, but crypto seems to be sneaking back in again. They're like, oh, I'm going to take that money in from the competition and do it here. And I'm like, you did you. Cool. I'm going to go do a kid's bun for a dance show that my 2-year-old is in. Yeah.
I am just going to pause here for a second because I just want to check that you know all about my new software, Dance Business Solutions. And if you don't, then I would love to show it to you. You can book a demo where I will show you around the magic that I have created in Dance Business Solutions, and you can see just what it will do for your business. So from websites, to selling events, to managing your customers, managing your inquiries, creating surveys, planning your social media. Like, it does a gazillion things. And they're all very exciting because I have pre-built most of it for you already using my wisdom and expertise as a dance business coach. So go to dancebusinesssolutions.com as soon as you've finished listening to my podcast and click on book a demo. And I cannot wait for one of my team to show you around.
And I think it's a choices, isn't it? I think it's really important for principals to kind of to recognize the journey. I've been doing this up until this point. It no longer really feels right for me. And now I have other priorities. Now I want to make other choices. And I do have a team of teachers that would happily do this. And this is what I was saying. I have quite a few people recently have been doing this, is learning how to outsource this and train and teach and employ somebody else to not only be at the competitions, but to enter the kids to the competitions, to run the competitions, to be the liaison officer with the parents, like basically to take over that whole area of the school so that the principal can kind of go, do you know what, I'll train you, I'll teach you. The kids still get supported. They still get to do it. They still have the wonderful experiences that they get from competitions, the memories, all the things. But I don't actually have to now be doing it any longer. And I think that is definitely something that some of the listeners will listen to and think, yes, that's me.
That's what I want.
I hate comps. I don't want to stop the comps. I just don't want to do the comps.
I think it's very mirrored with a lot of things. Like, you see people go, I want to sell my school. And yeah, some people do legit want to sell their school, but actually they don't want to sell their school. They love the school. They love this, but they don't want to do whatever it is that it's, and if you can create those teams, makes total sense. Like, if you just like you mirror your business model to say at primary school, like the head teacher doesn't run the musicals. There's a team that run the musicals. Yeah, head teacher they do their job. And I think it's, if you have got the ability to do that, that's maybe the way you find that kind of balance if you don't want to fully give up on them. Yeah.
And I think that, so many people in this country with their competitions, and it's the same with everything else in terms of the business side of running the school. We're so bad at making sure that there's a decent profit that comes off of everything, that most people running comp teams aren't earning any money. In fact, it's costing them money. And I think we've already talked about this on previous podcasts. But I think the difficulty becomes, how do I give that to other team members and pay other people to go when it doesn't earn any money anyway? And I think that's when you really have to look at, well, this is the choice that we now have to give the parents. Like, we are now going to have to charge this fee on top in order for one of our members of staff to come along and be there and to support you. And it's kind of that or nothing. Like, parents, you choose. If you're invested in the competitions and you still want your kids to do it and you still want my team members to be there, then it is going to cost extra. And maybe we don't all do so many, or maybe we cut back a little bit on the number of entries, but it's going to now cost this. And I think that's where, if you're listening and you're thinking, oh God, this is me, and they won't pay anymore. I think you've got to just be strong with these boundaries, haven't you? And say it's this, or we have to stop it altogether.
I always find, like, you not so much now, but say you say to someone, they go, oh, my parents won't pay it. And I'm like, but have you asked them? Like, have you told them that that's what it's going to cost? Because I find there's always people that turn around, like, okay, my parents of the competition team I run are very, very good. They're wonderful humans. They have been doing it for a long time. Yeah, it started a bit rocky, I'm not going to lie, but we are 15 years in and they know how to behave now. They always go to me, don't come for the whole weekend. Like, why would you do that? You need to be at home with Zura, or we're not paying you to be here. Like, leave my kid alone and go live your own life. And they see it. So I think as long as you're not suddenly adding on like £400 or £500 per competition, they will go, okay, I see. Again, it's that explaining communication, why, how you're doing it. They'll be like, yeah, valid point. She does give up a whole weekend to be here with the comp team, etc. So I think, it's all about communication, isn't it? We've got to communicate.
And I think don't be afraid to be real, to be truthful. This isn't about you deciding that you're trying to make a whole bunch of money It's about you finding a solution in order for the comp team to continue without your requirements to be heavily involved. So that is one version of how you do that. But obviously there are some schools where it is only the principal. They don't have anyone to send off to. So what are your thoughts, Rosina? Sorry, my sister-in-law.
I like that. Rowena, go with it. It's fine.
Oh, Rosina, what are your thoughts on what if somebody doesn't have that and they just want to from competitions? Yeah.
I think you absolutely can. And I think it's a way, you have to think about it in advance. You can't just suddenly, if the students think they're going to do competitions for this, like we're recording this in September. I don't know when it's going out, but say September, you suddenly go, you know what, we're not doing comps any longer. You've literally just started a school year. One would assume you've sent out your ethos and your plans and your dates for the school year. You can't just cuddly stop it now. I would say make sure you preempt it with a plan, because again, if you begin to slightly sow a seed that you might not be doing a competition, one student may hear it and that's suddenly going to become hearsay. Everyone's going to go, what's happening? You're going to have more drama than you ever need. So I think if you are thinking of it, keep it very much inside. I wouldn't possibly question telling your faculty too, because you never know how much you can trust them always, but just keep it inside, create your plan. The plan might be that you have other performance opportunities that you've been thinking of. I see so many people do dancing at Disney, and I think that must be an amazing opportunity. I just think it obviously is expensive, but if you pull back from 6 or 7 comps a year, that equals that. It's your whole school that's able to go. It's in Disneyland. It's that memory that's always made. I'm in my Disney princess era, so I'm very much aligned to wanting to go to Disney. Or like maybe you go, oh, well, actually there's a local amateur dramatics group and we're going to be part of their shows, and they do a show every 2 months, 3 months. That's our focus. But you need to have that plan ready, and you need to have what your new unique selling point might be ready. I don't think doing competitions is a unique selling point of a dance studio, and I wouldn't recommend that being your USP. And I think you as a business coach would also agree that's probably not a USP, but have a new one ready to be like, we're not doing this, but we are doing that, and launch it all at the same time. Everyone has to know it at the same time. And you might have a bit of backlash from your faculty, because one thing I did write was the income from private lessons with competitions will drop possibly. Obviously, some kids will still want privates, especially those who are going into, audition season, but you're not going to have to rehearse X amount of tap solos any longer. But there may also be other opportunities for further rehearsals. And if you are doing new events, there's going to be the payment for those. So I think as long as you've planned it and worked out how it benefits everyone, I guess, then yeah, people will say they don't want to, and people will give notice, etc. But then you will, as we say, gather new. So I think it's having a plan, formulating the plan with enough time, and then shooting it out.
Yeah, I really do agree, because I think for some parents, the whole thing they love about competitions is the winning and the getting medals and trophies. We can't hide the fact that that is important to some parents. But for some parents, they just love to see their kids on stage. They just love putting the costume together and doing their hair and makeup and being around that performing kind of environment. And so, of course, there are more than one ways to skin a cat. Like, you're absolutely right. I was heavily involved in competitions as a child, and then did them semi-heavily as a younger teacher. And then we kind of stepped back from doing them all together. But then I recognized that in my school, like, we only did a show every 2 years, which meant if my kids weren't doing comps and we needed a performance every 2 years, they basically only got on a stage every 24 months.
Yeah.
Which just this wasn't quite enough.
It's not the thing that makes the heart sing, is it? Is that what, like, you see them when they're on the stage and you're like, oh my God, this is the energy. And actually, sometimes I say, oh, I don't want to go to comps. And then if I do go, and I usually do end up going, actually, if I'm standing in the wings, I feel the energy. I'm like, okay, what was I thinking? Like, we need to be here. So yeah, having opportunities there. Otherwise, you are going to limit their experience or the energy, the adrenaline.
Yeah. And so I think so. So one of the things I did is I didn't create a comp team, I created a performance team.
Nice.
So we had a class called performance class, which was basically just it's non-syllabus, it's working on group choreography. We had people had to do at least the 3 genres. So we had various, different group dances going. We costumed them, and then constantly on the lookout for where can we go to perform this? Where can we go as a group to perform that? And we'd have several performing opportunities throughout the year so that they still got the being on stage, being with their friends, doing non-syllabus work, having costumes, turning up and performing, parents loving seeing their child perform in public.
Yeah.
But it just didn't have the competitive element behind it.
And actually probably gathered more new students than it would if you were at comps. Because whilst people at comps do moan about poaching, you don't have 20 random people standing on a high street watching a dance comp, but you do when you've danced at the local community fair. So yeah, I mean, there's a whole another side of that.
Really good point. Really good point.
I mean, we are, as a studio, we haven't done community events in years. It just hasn't fitted into the schedule. But more recently, I've taken a look at how little or how much marketing we were not doing. And I was like, the juniors who aren't in the comp team can absolutely perform at the Christmas light switch on. They can absolutely perform at the summer dance day. And actually, that's where you're getting the kids from. You're not getting them from winning. Well, you might be getting some kind of children from winning competitions, but you're not getting your general bread and butter student that's helping you run your studio from them.
Exactly. And one of the things that I loved about the performance class that we had was that, they didn't have to be of any specific standard. They didn't have to be our best students, because actually, and I know it's really, really hard, and we're going slightly off piece here, but I know it's really hard to put your kids out into the public when they don't all look immaculate, when they're not all got these incredible polished routines, when they're not your best kids, because as creative dance teachers, we want to put our best foot forward. But actually, and this is the really hard thing to get our heads around, a lot of the general public, when they watch your kids perform at a school fete or Christmas light switch on or the rugby club annual fair or whatever it is, they just happen to be there. They're seeing school, they're seeing kids dancing and having fun, and the first thing they're going to be saying to themselves is, could I imagine my Betty in there with that? And if they are all immaculate, slick, they all look the same, they're all amazing dancers, they look at them and go, well, they're really good, but I can't see Betty doing that. She's got 2 left feet, or she's whatever. If they see very normal average kids where a couple of them aren't stretching their feet, or they're not in time, or they don't look quite so, immaculately presented as the others because mum's not quite as good at doing a bun, then they kind of look and go, oh, that's just for normal kids. Which is a great way of filling your rec classes. And also, there's ways of maintaining your kind of personal brand and discipline without it being perfect choreo. I know, but I think I don't think any of my seniors would even dance at the Christmas light switch on. Their dances are not they can't do that on concrete. But grade 1 tap in a pair of trainers, perfect. And you know what? Yeah, we made sure all their hair was really well done. There's a kid that's not doing the choreo right. There's one that's got blue socks on instead of white. But they've all got nice hair. One thing you can control. And I think that is so important. And also I think it's so important when I always say it to my college students as well. I'm like, I always say Uncle Jeremy, which is a bit of a weird one because I don't know if Uncle Jeremy sounds like the nicest of men, but hey ho. Uncle Jeremy doesn't care if you can kick your head with a pointed foot and turnout. He wants to see, I don't know, whatever he wants on his cruise ship. He wants the skinny, pretty, I don't know, showgirl. He doesn't care whether your pirouette is perfect. And they're like, but you love pirouettes. I'm like, yeah, I do, but you have to think what the general public think. And that is the same, flipping this all the way back to when they're 7 or 8 years old. General public have to see, as you say, will Betty fit in there? Yeah. So, I mean, I know, as I said, went off piece a little bit there, but it was really because we were talking about other opportunities that you could kids in if they're not doing competitions. So I really love having something in place so that you can say to your parents, look, I've made a big decision, and this decision wasn't one I made lightly. These are the reasons I've made this decision. And as the captain of the ship, it's up to me to steer it in the direction I feel genuinely, passionately, and authentically invested in. And competitions for me no longer represent that. However, we are very aware of how much the kids love to perform, love dressing up, love costumes, how much you love to see them on stage. And therefore, we are thrilled to announce that we are going to be taking part in da 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 da. And you have that sort of replacement thing ready for
I
them.
think you'd probably be surprised how many parents will go,
Huge.
You said that.
Thank you.
It's a funny one. And you have parents that say, I don't think my daughter is gaining anything from solos anymore. And they're scared to say that to you because you have a comp team. And I'm like, cool, she doesn't have to do them. And then they're like, oh, and I'm like, but what's the point of pushing her through this if that's not what's like it's serving you? So yeah, as long as you've got that, when they say, but what are we going to do instead? You're ready with whatever you are going to do instead.
Yeah. And if you have always thought you'd love to take your kids to Disneyland, then there's the perfect. And if we're not investing all the money you normally invest in competitions, then this is what I think would be amazing for us all go and do. And if you have something that is even more exciting than the thing they're currently done to offer them, then I think that makes for a bit of a smoother transition, doesn't it?
Yeah, I see a lot of studios doing dancing on cruise ships, which I think sounds so much fun. And I think like there's companies that do that for you. And I'm like, that'd be well cool. And I mentioned it briefly to my seniors and they're like, wait, so that would be like that much money. But that's how much we spend over like 3 competition weekends because that's the hotel and then this. And I was like, whoa, just posting it out there. I was not suggesting that we quit everything because at the moment for us, it wouldn't work. It's like the middle of the comp team. We've started new pieces. Parents would be like, but wait, I just bought a jacket. Like you'd have to preempt things in enough time. And I think sometimes kids come in seasons. I think that may be another way you could perhaps balance doing comps or not doing comps is the maybe 1 year's performance season, next year's competition season. That might work. Just because depending on, it sounds awful, but if there's a bunch of kids that do competitions and have a nice time but never win, they may not be that bothered if you say, well, we're not going to dance for a year, we're going to perform for a year. And then the following year that those kids are back to being, that's a balance as well. That's possibly an option for.
Yeah, that's another option, 100%.
Yeah.
And I
Might be a lot of effort.
Yes. But I think also if you do have something that you want to replace it with, and it is something like going and dancing on the cruise ship, I think actually being able to sit down and do the maths like one of your students was doing is really valid because you could literally say to them, look, I'm not saying we're definitely going to do this because, I haven't even put this out there, but I do know that the cost on average per family to go and do this would be X. And last year doing competitions, you probably spent X. And it might be roughly the same. It might be a bit more. It might be a bit less. I don't know. But at least parents can kind of go, wow, that would be amazing. And if we didn't do that, we could do that instead.
I actually think people would be probably surprised that I think something like a big event to Disney or a cruise ship is probably less than 5 relatively big competitions a year.
Yeah. And unless
I look at how much they're spending, like they're all rocking up in these new costumes and they've got lunch out and all the kids have got the Starbucks and this, like that's adding up. Maybe.
Yeah, definitely. So there's 2 or 3 options there. And we've talked about the option of stepping away completely or just the principal stepping away. Did you have any other points that you thought of that you were going to bring up today, Rosina?
No, the main thing was it's just, I think a lot of people do it to keep up with the Joneses. And I think for any business to be successful, you cannot do that. And I see a lot of parents and not so much parents, I see a lot of studio owners going, we don't do competitions, but so-and-so's asked to. And then they kind of go, well, we will do it because Betty's mum wants us to. And I'm like, but why would you do it just for Betty? Because what about all the others? And then that could be where you're beginning to just get a little bit of a I don't think there's a bad thing having an elite team in a studio. I think having something for kids to work to, as long as it's not a toxic environment, is really, really important. But that's when you're going to get segregation. And that's when you're going to get people looking at where the grass might be greener. And I think as dance studio owners, we want to keep watering the grass that we currently have so that they don't always look. People will. And, naturally someone will say, oh, I think I'm going to do better over there. Fine, whatever. But I think we have to be very aware of what we're doing to stop them wanting to go somewhere else. And I think it all leads back to every kind of business kind of strategy that I'm sure you talk about a lot with any part of our studio, that the competitions can be a beneficial part or they can be a very, very toxic part. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, just kind of wrapping it up now slightly, I think it is going back to what we started to say right at the very beginning. Is it, what is it that you want? What do you want your school to be? What do you want to create within your school in terms of the environment, the culture, the ethos? And if it just isn't serving you anymore, or maybe it never has served you, then I think it is just, getting very clear on that, because that's what you've got to use as your ammunition, I guess. when you announce this, this is the backbone of your reasons. It's going to be the thing that is the reason we're no longer doing this is because. So you've got to get really clear on what it is that you do stand for. We don't really want you just announcing, we're not going to do comps anymore. We're going to phase them out over the next year. And there's no real reason. Like people have
because then people will kind of find reasons and they'll go, oh, it's because, like, I remember like there's rumors, oh, Rosina's not going to do any new competition dances this year because she's pregnant. And that was before I was even pregnant. And I was like, no, Rosina's not doing competition dances this year because my assistants do it better. Like they're younger and they do them better. So that's why, like, there's no reason. I want to do a new group dance, and this is my second kid. If you haven't noticed, I just kept going. Like, it's fine. But they will formulate their own reasons. Oh, it's because blah, blah, blah's left and she was the one that won. Or, oh, it's because they don't want to spend the money because they've got a new puppy or something. Like, parents will formulate their own opinions if you don't give them the reasons as to why.
Yeah. And so it's down to kind of leadership. You as a dance business owner are the leader, and it's your chance and your opportunity to kind of really step into that leadership in terms of leading your school, your parents, your students in the direction that you want to go into. And don't be apologetic for that. Be compassionate and understanding, but be firm with the reasons why. Communicate them really well, phase them out, have a strategy. Bob's your uncle, you're all good.
Yeah. I love that. And I'll just put a little waiver out there that I literally, as this podcast come through, I just got an email that said, would you like to judge for a competition? Yes, I absolutely would still love to judge. If you're listening to this as a event organizer, it's nothing problem with the competitions. It's just looking at it from, I think for us as like coaches that we are, it's about making sure that those dance teachers are getting what they want from the business, which equals their lives. So yeah, I think I'm looking forward to hearing the reactions and comments of this, because I think there's going to be a lot of people that go, that is exactly how I was feeling. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I hope so. And I also hope that it hasn't put anybody off that does do competitions or wants to continue doing
listen to episode 2 or 1 or whichever one it was about the competitions.
Exactly. We were wanting to just give the full picture, weren't we? So right from, thinking about it, doing it, exiting it, I think we've really had some great discussions over the last few hours. And so massive thank you, Rosina, because
no, thank you so much for having me. Well, 3/4 times, Deborah. I'm very honored to be a repeat customer.
Oh, absolutely. And we wish you all the very best with
thank you.
Be number 2.
Yes, we'll see you soon. We have some plans, don't we, Deborah? We have some plans. So
yeah, we'll have some plans. We'll put
little droplet of that, but nothing special.
Exactly. It won't be the last time you see Rosina. But all the very best.
Thank you so much, Deborah. Thank you.
And thank you very much.
So I wanted to tell you that this episode is kindly sponsored by Sally at Dance Studio Marketing, who is your go-to solution for growing your dance school through the power of social media. So if you're feeling overwhelmed at trying to attract new students, at Dance Studio Marketing, Sally helps dance studio owners just like you to leverage the power of social media and paid ads to bring in a steady stream of students, which of course helps you to achieve more balance in your life. So if you're ready to grow with less stress, visit sallyprendergast.com, or you can connect with Sally at Dance Studio Marketing on your favorite social media platform today. My clients are getting fabulous results using Sally. So let's get those ads going and let's get your school growing.